Welcome everybody. Welcome. Hello. Hey now. Hey now. Hey now. Welcome. Getting back to work. Episode 101. It's not first base exactly, but it feels like it's the next inning, if you will. So we have a lot more baseball to play. But welcome. Episode 101. Hey now. Hey Nick, how you doing?
Good, man. I was just telling you before we started recording, got to go check out the first preview screening for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. They gave out these nice little posters. Pretty cool.
Very nice.
Very
nice.
They also gave out these little pins. It's an IMF agent pin.
Oh, look at that.
And I managed to snag the Cinemark exclusive Barbie popcorn tin.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Only $10.
Very cool. Well, it's nice to get little exclusive stuff. I'm glad they're bringing that kind of stuff back. You know?
Yeah. No, they had stuff there still from The Flash. I guess nobody wanted to buy it.
I don't believe everything I see on the internet. As a matter of fact, I try not to believe most of it. But somebody on some page on Instagram said that movie's like going to lose a lot of money.
Oh no, it is. Yeah. After marketing, it costs like $300 million. It's at like 261 right now, and you only get about half of box office returns. So it's looking at losing about $200 million for Warner Brothers.
Is it because people are burned out, or is it because that Ezra is whatever the name is? Are they really controversial and got a lot of baggage?
You'll hear people say that's the reason. That's not the reason. There's one simple reason why The Flash tanked, and it's because they announced that the DCEU was getting totally rebooted. So people knew going into this why go see this movie if this is not going to be continued?
So you're saying that this movie was in development before James Gunn came in and said
it was finished, and then James Gunn came in and was like, by the way, this movie's great, but it's DOA. Like nothing's happening with these characters, and a bunch of people were mad, so they didn't go see it, and I don't blame them. I mean, if you told dude, if Halloween 2018 came out and it had, well, no, not even that, Halloween Kills, let's say, was clearly setting up more things, and they were like, and there was a lot there, and it was just like, yeah, but we're not, we're done, by the way. So,
that's a bad example, Nick, because people listening right now are saying Halloween Ends certainly didn't pick up.
but before Ends is what I'm saying. Before you know what you're going to get, like there's a lot left hanging at the end of Kills.
Right.
And if they had just been like, yeah, that's it. Like, I know everything's unresolved, but sorry, people would have been like, the fuck?
That makes sense. I feel as an outsider, like all I heard people talking about was what's their name?
Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller. And that's because you're on the internet. I mean, everybody's talking about it on the internet, but a lot of, and I know you know this, but Twitter ain't real life.
I understand. That's why I'm asking.
The minority's very loud about it, and the minority you will find on social media. The majority of people don't know or don't care.
Who cares? I mean, this is probably a conceited thing to say. I don't know, but like, I feel like who cares about the Flash? Is that a big character? That's like not Batman or Spider-Man, huh?
That's another thing that people were talking about. It's the Flash. We're not talking about Superman or Batman or something. It's the Flash. Like,
that's like if they made trying to think of an equivalent for like a video game movie. Like, it's not a Mario movie. It's like a Toad movie. I feel like who's going to a Toad movie?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
I heard that the Indiana Jones movie wasn't going to make money either.
No, it might not even cross 400 worldwide when it's all said and done. And that movie after P&A cost 430. So
what's that one's excuse?
In my opinion, personally, I don't think anybody needed or wanted to see another one. Whether they liked Crystal Skull or not, I mean, half the fan base hated it. So, and then two, Harrison Ford's 81, bro. Like we just didn't need it. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of like how Arnold, like I give Arnold credit. He's still in great shape, but he came out and said, Terminator doesn't need me anymore. Like, I'm done with it. Like, good on him.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like a jerk saying it, but I truly can't bring myself to see Harrison try to be I know he's not a superhero, but let's call a spade a spade. I feel like it's hard for me to watch Harrison try to do that at 81, and I don't know. I love him so much. Who doesn't love Harrison Ford, right?
And it might be a good movie, man. I haven't seen it. This is nothing. It has nothing. And I liked The Flash, so I'm not disparaging that. It's just I think those factors are
I I know I'm probably gonna stream that just to see. Spoiler alert, cover your ears, people, just to see Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
It better be worth it because I couldn't tell
It's
you
like
who the
5
fuck.
seconds, dude.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you what the Flash does. I'm assuming they're fast, right?
Yeah, but he's got a lot of powers to where, in the sense of like in the Speed Force, that he can like almost stop time and like go back in time. And if he runs faster than the speed of light, which is an ability that he learns in this movie, I believe. I'm not super well versed in the terminology, but y'all get what I'm saying.
I don't remember if this is Marvel or DC. I get them very confused, but I have this Nintendo game called Silver Surfer.
Marvel.
Have they made a Silver Surfer movie?
Yeah, and it sucked.
When did they make that?
That came out in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Was pretty well hated by pretty much everybody. I saw it once. I wouldn't even say it was a travesty. It was just super forgettable and like unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I remember, and then we'll get started. But like, I remember this girl I was dating at the time. She was like, "Let's go to the movies." Blah blah blah. My friends, we all want to go. I'm like, "That's fine," you know. And I was like, "What movie are we seeing?" And it was so bad, I'll never forget it. It was called The Green Lantern, and I think that really destroyed me. I'm still not recovered. I thought it was the dumbest superhero I mean, no disrespect to the people that are in this world, but I feel it was the dumbest superhero I've ever heard of in my life. It was not beyond nonsensical to me. He like was trying to save like this plane from crashing, so he imagined like a green roller coaster. Like I just remember it being ridiculous. And I think that was the guy that played
it's Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I don't see him talking about that anymore.
No, yeah, it flopped pretty hard.
Well, my bitch ass was at the theater for it.
Hey, there you go.
I'll tell you that. that was like 2010 or 11. It was a long time ago.
Yep. Yeah, it was a while ago. That movie came and went.
I saw like a Captain America movie, and it was the one where it's this little punk ass skinny dude, and he gets like shot up with steroids, and then it magically becomes him. I'm assuming that's the first one.
I wouldn't know.
I didn't hate. I love. The only reason I went was because there was this video game for Sega Dreamcast that I religiously played as a kid. It was called Marvel vs. Capcom, and they had arcades of it that were wildly popular. And I always used to get Captain America, so I kind of went out of respect. But I don't know. I thought he was supposed to be like a Vietnam vet or something, but in this movie, it was like a punk, like infantry kid. I shouldn't say punk. He's still military. It's imaginary. What am I saying? I don't care. It's a punk kid. So I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sure people are already pulling their hair out listening to me. You know, what do I know? But anyway,
you gonna check out Barbie, Christian?
I don't know. It seems like everybody's excited for it, and it's not that I'm past the point of being the grumpy old guy, or not even grumpy old guy. I'm just past the point of being just like fuck that. I don't know.
I never played with a Barbie in my life, but I'm gonna go see it.
I don't want to go to the theater to see it, but I'm sure I'll check it out. I think Margot is really cool. I like her, and she's really pretty. And I like what's the actor's name? That's
Ryan Gosling.
Again? Ryan Gosling. I've seen him in a number of movies that I.
Will Ferrell's in it too.
I saw that. I just don't think I'm going to go to the theater to see it, but no, I'm sure I'll check it out. I'm assuming it's not a kids movie.
That's PG-13.
Interesting.
There's one F-bomb in it too.
Really?
It got its obligatory F-bomb. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll eventually see it. Going to the theater though, probably not. Like I'm getting lazy. Like I wanted to see The Red Door, but after I talked to you, I was just like, I feel like I don't even need to. And then I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to the theater again. I just don't know. I need to. I'm sure it'll be sometime this summer. At least The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I know for sure I want to see that, but I don't know. I need to go to the theater. I need to just to get out the house, you know. So sooner rather than later, I'm going to try to. But I don't know.
What about Oppenheimer?
I have no idea what that is. No clue.
It's a Nolan movie. It's about the creation of the atom bomb.
Okay, that's cool. Nolan, I'm hit and miss with him. Like, I like Inception, but I don't live and die by it like a lot of people do. And Did he do Tenet?
Yeah.
I hated that movie.
He did the Dark Knight trilogy.
That doesn't sell me either. I'm really picky.
Interstellar.
Interstellar's cool. I hated Tenet. I really thought the movie was gonna be badass. Inception, I watched it way down the road. Matter of fact, I watched it like 6 months ago because then The Office keeps there's a joke about it like in one episode, and I always would hear like somebody say, "I saw Inception," or "Did I dream it?" or something. I'm like, "Fuck, let me watch this movie." And I thought it was good, but I was just like, okay. But I really like Interstellar.
You did Memento too.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's really good. It's early 2000s, maybe late 90s. I think it's early 2000s. It's really good.
So he's not. Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't know. I don't recall seeing a trailer for what is it called?
Oppenheimer.
I haven't seen a trailer for it or nothing. Maybe I'm not paying attention enough.
No, you're just not going to the movies, like you said, because it's playing before every movie in the theater right now.
Really?
Like,
Is it a timepiece then?
Yeah, it's from the 40s. The Oppenheimer, the actual guy that created the atom bomb. The movie is basically like taking place during World War II, and it's about him and leading up to the creation of the atom bomb. And it just looks really interesting. Christopher Nolan said it's more like a horror movie because you're really getting into this guy's mind. And there's a line in the trailer that is just so awesome that it's like you gave them the power to destroy themselves. And someone says in the trailer too, like this will end the war or whatever and bring peace or something like that. And this guy says until someone builds a bigger one. And it's just really cool because it's going to be cool to like go back and tell a story from that time and the creation of it, knowing what we know now and like how big of a deal nuclear weapons are now. Like at the time, it was probably like, holy shit, we are the shit. America, hot dogs and American
America.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. And then now, if we're watching it with the frame of mind that we have now is going to be crazy because it's going to be like all this shit that we know. Like, yeah. Now everybody has a shitload and the next world war is going to be really bad.
Oh God. Yeah. That's interesting to me. So I guess I should go watch a trailer just to see. Is there any notable actors in it?
Oh yeah. Matt Damon, Cillian Murphy, Florence Pugh, Josh Peck.
My boy. Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's got a great cast. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. It's got a great cast.
I'm sorry to swap.
Oh, you're good.
Swap. So I just heard about this today. Did you hear that fucking Mel Gibson is about to release a 4-part documentary on the sex trafficking ring in Hollywood? Trying to be careful because I don't want this video to get demonetized.
I didn't hear about it. I did see Jack White say something today about Mel Gibson. I
researched this after I saw like this podcast listened to talk about it, and it looks legit. Like it's a 4-part because these documentaries are all the rage now. Like Surviving R. Kelly set off like this like thing.
Yes, my only issue with something like this is if it's agenda driven. And knowing Mel Gibson, that's what if everybody should hate trafficking, and I think everybody does. I think everybody hates that. But come from a place of giving facts. Don't come from a place of I don't know. Like that kind of stuff's just tricky to me. Like there's that movie that's out right now called Sound of Freedom, I guess, which is about trafficking and stuff like that. And it had a really good week at the box office last week. I hadn't even heard of it, but I guess it's because it got put in a bubble because it's Jim Caviezel. So it's like, oh, he's a conservative and it's a conservative message. This is a conservative's movie. And it's like, I was seeing somebody talk about it, be like, It shouldn't be though. Like, shouldn't we all hate trafficking? So
that's what they said about, I don't know if you've seen it, but that's what people called Rambo Last Blood, the most conservative movie ever made. Because it's about a girl visiting Mexico with her friends and she gets trafficked and Rambo goes over to Mexico to get her.
It isn't.
Well, I got to be careful. I don't want this video,
I know. We're talking about traffic like in LA. It's crazy, guys. Like
people call that the most conservative movie. I was like, I didn't know it was a political thing to hate.
No, and that's
people getting abducted and used for.
That's complete bullshit for any side, left or right, to co-opt that and be like, this is our thing that we hate. And you guys like it. No, I think everybody hates that. Let's not.
But I don't know, dude. It's going to be interesting. Like, I watch a lot of this stuff. I don't mind putting myself out there. I watched all of Surviving R. Kelly. I'd take a bullet to the head knowing that dude's a monster. The Leaving Neverland one,
What do you think? Michael Jackson guilty?
I can't answer simply yes or no because life is not that simple.
But he was definitely weird as fuck.
Yes, and this is what I'll say. Gun to my head, I would say he's innocent, and I'll tell you why I think that. I don't think anybody should ever be that famous ever again. I think the closest thing we have to in today's world is like Taylor Swift. She clearly can't go anywhere in public.
Justin Bieber too.
Bieber too, but I think Michael Jackson was so famous. He legitimately rented out a grocery store just to see what it was like to put groceries in his grocery. I think he was so famous and never experienced childhood that his mind was warped.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think he touched kids? This episode is fucked. Oh well. Do I think he did anything? I just don't. I don't. And the fact that this stuff comes out after the fact, it's tricky. You know, I don't. That's my opinion. If I had gun to my head, I say he's innocent. I don't think he did anything. That's just my opinion. But but what I'm getting at is people say he's weird 1,000%, but I don't think. I think it's because of his life. He had the most bizarre life out of anybody. He was so famous. He literally, people. I mean, Nick, people. There's videos of people faint at the sight of him.
Yeah,
that's not. It's too famous. Nobody should ever be that famous ever again.
He was mentally a child because he never really got to live a normal life. So I think that's why he kind of blurred the lines between what was socially acceptable and what wasn't. I don't think he was nefarious. I don't think that he intended to ever make anybody uncomfortable or anything like that. I think he just genuinely was ignorant and mentally stunted. And so, yeah.
And here's the last thing I'll say about that, and then we'll actually move on. The one argument I have that I think works in my favor pretty good is when Corey Feldman was doing a video about, you know what we've been talking about. If he really needed to drive sales for his documentary, if he really needed to, fill in the blanks. But guess what? He never mentioned Michael Jackson's name once. Till this very day, he said he never touched him. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and he's horrible for what he did. But gun to my head, I say he's innocent. Now that we've divided half of our audience, let's talk about Jaws.
Yeah, we talked about politics. Yeah, hell yeah, Michael Jackson. For those of you still listening and not rage typing right now, we're going to talk about Jaws.
Yeah, it is Shark Week, so I revisited the only ones I didn't revisit for Shark Week this week was 3 and 4, but I've seen them enough to where they're ingrained in my memory. So
I only didn't revisit 4. That's the only one I didn't revisit.
Okay, I can talk all about 4, but
I've seen it enough. I mean, I can too, but yeah, I made the decision today to watch that or Cruel Jaws because I had stuff to do today and then I had a movie to see tonight. So it's like I've got enough time to watch like one movie.
Right.
And I was like, I've never seen Cruel Jaws, so I'm going to watch that.
Good. So let's start at 1. I mean, how do you want to tackle it? Because it's like, do we just talk about how good the movie is, or are we rating them as we go along?
Let's rate
them at the end.
Let's rate them. Let's give our thoughts on the movie. We'll rate them, and then at the end, we'll give our franchise ranking. Okay. I think that's good. I mean, you can take it away with the first movie. I know you're going to know a lot of the facts on these movies that I don't know. So if you want to take it away, I don't know what it means to you, the impact of that movie.
Right. I think this is probably the best. Catch me on a certain day of the week. I'll tell you this is the best horror film ever made. I think it's Steven Spielberg's best movie he's ever done. Granted, I haven't seen all of them. In terms of impact, it's either this or like E.T. You could argue Indiana Jones too, but I'm already getting off topic. Dude, this movie, the making of is fucking incredible. It's insane. Just creating a shark on a track that goes underwater in the 70s sounds bizarre. There's incredible documentaries. There's one called The Shark is Working. There's one called I forgot what the names of. There's a number of them. But everything about this is one of those movies. This is like the Halloween of the water, if you will. It's perfect. Literally everything is perfect. John Williams' score is fucking iconic. And this was at a time where Steven Spielberg was doing this thing to where he hadn't directed too much yet. And as simple as it sounds, the reason he decided to direct Jaws was because he did a movie before this called Duel, which was about an 18-wheel truck. And so he figured, okay, my first movie had 4 letters, and that was titled Duel. Jaws is 4 letters. I'm going to do that. So that's the simple thought process of him deciding to do this movie, which is hysterical. But Peter Benchley wrote the book Jaws, and the book has a lot going into it. In the book, there was a whole affair aspect that went down. And I almost feel like they try to do a little bit of hinting of this kind of thing in 2. Just a little bit with Ellen Brody's boss.
Mm-hmm.
He was a little handsy. I don't know if Peter
I
Benchley
don't
had
know
a
what
hand.
I'd do without her. Yeah.
I don't know if Peter Benchley had a hand in that, but his book, I can't tell you if it's better or not. I've read some of it because this is the Laserdisc edition, like the Studio Collector's Edition. And what's cool about this is, first off, there's like 7 discs in here. But I didn't realize this when I bought it, but I have Steven Spielberg's autograph on that, which is incredible. But it came with
that was post you getting it, or you didn't get it yourself, right? You bought it and it had his autograph on it.
Well, this is limited to like 1,000. This is an extremely this was like the Halloween box set for Laserdiscs of Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
And it came with, what's cool is it came with the CD soundtrack for the movie, and then it came with Peter Benchley's novel. Now, this is obviously not an original pressing. The original pressing of Jaws is like this black novel. So this was like a 90s, this was like the 6th or 7th adaptation. Not adaptation, but like release of this book, because it had sold greatly. But Jaws is one of those movies that, I mean, my favorite thing about the film is it's one of those movies that it's not front loaded. So sometimes you'll watch a great horror film and the best stuff is in the beginning. Whereas with Jaws, I can't fucking wait till they get on the boat, because then you're going to get 3 of the best characters I've ever seen talking. And Quint is a fucking legend. And you can relate to one of those 3 guys. I think the average person actually relates to Brody, because Quint is like the extreme blue collar son of a bitch. And you got Hooper, who's the smart one. I think the average person, like I think a lot of us, we relate to Brody, the guy in the middle. Just wants to fucking survive this shit. And the other 2 want to be like, the hero, if you will, or do things their way. And it's incredible. You just get so lost in it. You get so lost in their dialogue. And then hearing Quint talk about the USS Indianapolis is terrifying, the way he tells the story. So, dude, to me, Jaws it's perfect. And without any hesitation, none of them get as good as this one. I think first impressions are the best too. So as much as Chief Brody is great in 2, the actor, not Richard Dreyfuss, that's Hooper. The actor is
Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider. His name always slips me. As great as he is in 2, I mean, he's dealing with the material, which is not as good as 1. And his first impressions are the most important, as they say. You fall in love with him within 15 seconds in Jaws. This is a perfect movie. It's perfect because the imperfections that they happen on set, they squeeze diamonds out of the problems. So this is a perfect movie. Jaws is beyond a 10. It transcends being A grade. It's in a pantheon that doesn't have a name.
Yeah, man, I don't really know how I follow that up properly. Jaws is one of those movies that Like, I mean, just like Halloween and stuff like that. My mom saw this in theaters in its original run. My grandparents used to be cool, I guess. Not anymore, but they used to be cool, and they would take them to movies when they were kids and teenagers that they probably shouldn't have seen. And so, like, growing up in my household, like, that was just a movie my mom revered, and she watched a lot, so I naturally watched it. And yeah, dude, like, this movie, you watch it at an impressionable age, and I think that I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that this movie probably is a big reason, even if we don't draw that conclusion ourselves, why so many people have fear of the ocean. Like, I feel like there were people that were afraid of the ocean always, and like just open water and stuff like that. But I feel like in 1974, when this movie came, 74, 75, 74, right? 75, yeah. 1975, when this movie came out, I think from that point forward, it just, generations since, kids have been scared of the ocean, and adults are scared of the ocean because of this movie. Yeah, man, it's generational. I mean, I don't know.
So you're
Yeah, I mean, he knows I'm recording. I don't understand what you're doing.
Let it roll. I'm laughing. I think it's funny.
That's bullshit. It's really annoying. But
Rat bastard. He's got headphones on.
Go on.
He's
Get out of here.
Headphones on.
Yeah. Anyway.
Back to his hut.
I don't even have privacy in my own house. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, so I feel like that's a part of it. And it's crazy that I still think every movie in this series after this, the effects are better in this movie. Like, time wasn't kind to this series with its sequels when it comes to the effects. I don't know what it is, man. It's not unheard of. It's actually pretty common to have a classic movie be the best one in the series. You know, the first one, it's a classic, it's the best one. But to be the best looking, the best directed, the most well-written, best effects. Yeah, I mean, it's got it all, dude.
Yeah, it's magic. It's magic. It's movie magic. And the guy that designed the shark was a legend at the time. Who worked on the sequels? I can't remember names.
I think who worked on Cruel Jaws was Larry Manini. I think I saw in the credits today.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we will.
We'll talk about the crane machine. He got that.
Jaws. Oh God, Jaws. Jaws is perfect. There's nothing you change about it. It's up there with like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a movie like that.
Yeah, you could almost argue it's above it. You know. But
yeah, you could. Yeah.
They talked a lot about. There's this book that my buddy Michael McCormick sent me, who actually did the sound. He himself composed the soundtrack for the documentary "The Shark Is Still Working," and he sent me Martha's Vineyard, stories from the making of Jaws, and it's beautiful. And there's a lot of talk about half of the movie, the scenes were designed in a way where the shark was supposed to be seen the entire duration of the opening of the film. You're supposed to see it.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't get it to work, so then they decided to have a scuba diver literally. I forgot what they did in the beginning, but they did something to make the woman drag across the water. And somebody would just pull her leg and knock her under the water in the opening of the film. And that scene sets it up so beautifully. But my favorite shot of the shark in the entire film actually takes place in the beginning. I say the beginning, the first quarter of the movie, when Roy gets all the kids out of the water, or Brody, excuse me. Sometimes I'll say their real human names. Gets them out of the water, and then they go into what was called like the pond area of the ocean. And the guy gets knocked off of his little rowboat, and he's hanging onto the boat, and you see the shark almost sideways with his jaw open, just going straight towards him. And then as it goes under him, the guy goes under. And the shot of the shark is so haunting, and it's stiff, and there's no motion to the shark. And obviously that's not how sharks move. They're very fluid, but something about you seeing this shot of the shark, it's at a depth that gives it some realism. And you just see the jaws wide open under him. And as it goes under his feet, I'm sure the audio, if you could hear the actual audio of on set, you just hear somebody yell, "Go down!" because it's timed perfectly, but it's fucking haunting. Then you see a bloody foot. And what was interesting at this point, obviously PG-13 wouldn't be a thing for nine or so years. I think Red Dawn or something to that effect was the first PG-13 movie. I actually thought it was Killer Clowns. It's not. Came out in the mid 80s, but Steven Spielberg said that he had an R rating, and then the MPAA was like, if you want a PG-13, the leg can't bounce. Because you remember the shit, there's a shot of the leg. He goes, the leg cannot bounce. If the leg bounces, that's an R rating. But if the leg falls, it's a bloody fucking leg. He goes, but if the leg just falls, that's PG. So that's a movie that, like, more surprising to me than Texas Chainsaw, honestly, that it's because there's actual blood in Jaws. So like the fact that Jaws is, and there's more. I mean, the shot of Quint getting bit and he bleeds out of his mouth is fucking disturbing.
Yeah.
So the fact that this movie's PG to me is light years more surprising than Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Granted, that's with hindsight of knowing everything and realizing there was no sleight of hand with Texas Chainsaw where you thought you did. I don't even know if that was Toby's intention to make you think you saw a bloodbath, but to me, like Jaws, you could argue it's a little bit of a bloodbath. It's very suggestive and you see blood, but the fact that that movie's PG was what really surprises me. And that was after Texas Chainsaw. So 1 year, but still. And I think this movie, if it wasn't Exorcist, I think Jaws created the summer blockbuster in American history. It was like one of the first big summer blockbusters. And because it was PG, kids could go see it. So, dude, this movie raked in fucking millions. In the 70s, hundreds of millions. So you got to translate that to 2023 money. It's probably $1 billion movie. I'm sure it's a safe assumption.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think that I think the fact that it was PG is also a reason why it was and still is such a phenomenon. I think it's why it became one so quickly is because more audiences could go see it. You know, parental guidance, but it's not rated R. You know, and it's like, I'm sure there's a lot of kids that were really fucked up by that movie. I gotta say too, I got to ride the Jaws ride years and years ago before it was shut down, and I don't know the specifics. I'm sure you do. I know that one of the sharks that they used in one of the movies was a part of the ride and was operational. I don't know if it was the first movie, second movie. I don't know. And I got to tell you, dude, that thing, even though it was fake, was huge. And I was scared on that ride because it's like, I don't want to fall in the water. This isn't a real shark, but.
Well, my favorite part of the ride was when, and it's funny because I wish I could go back. I wish I was born earlier and I lived in Florida. And because I'm assuming since you were closer to that side of the country, you went to the Orlando Universal Studio. So I would have hammed it up so good if I was the guy, like the ship captain, like the ship, you know, like I would be like, oh my God, we got to get back to base. And then but my favorite part of the ride is when they're like, we're going to pull off into this dock, guys. Don't worry about it. And then you go into this dock, but it's a house dock. Mm-hmm. And the shark comes in the cabin.
Yep.
If I don't know 1,000% for sure. I don't think one of the actual sharks was used in the ride, but I think in the Hollywood Universal, Bruce from Jaws: The Revenge was on display at the theme park.
Maybe that's what it was.
And there's actually, I've seen videos about this, and there was even speculation that it wasn't even, in fact, the Bruce from, I call it Bruce because that's what they called the shark in one, and it just kind of carried over, but people refer to Jaws as it's just Bruce. But there's even some speculation that it may not have even been a screen-used one, but the rumor, I say rumor, there was, in fact, I don't even think it's there anymore because of weather and stuff like that, but they had, as seen in, it's on YouTube. You can find it. People in the Hollywood one is like as seen in Jaws: The Revenge, Bruce, and they show the shark, and on the other side you could see the mechanics of it or whatever. But that's what I think you're referring to. But it's sad because when I was dude, speaking of Universal Studios, what year did you go? It had to have been before 2010, since that's when they shut the ride down in Florida. It was like summer of 2010. It was like the last time they had it.
It was right after my mom got remarried. So it was 2000. 2004.
7, 8, 9. Oh, so you
2005.
were very little then. So, dude, just that time at Universal, I think the last time I went to it, high school graduation, me and my friends went, and they had just shut it down. So it was actually, they shut it down in early 2010 because this was late May, and I know it wasn't there because I was so excited to go to it because it was always the most fun ride at the park to me. But when I was a kid, dude, I probably went 99, 2000, 2001. I remember when I was little, but dude, just Universal at that time, I just remember being so much better. And I don't know if they still had it in 2004. They might have. You could tell me. It was simple but fun. The Back to the Future ride. It's one of those simulation things where you just sit in the seat in like a row of seats and they put the buckle on you.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
you had to get on the DeLorean, and Biff was in another DeLorean, and you had to touch him.
I didn't ride it because I hadn't seen Back to the Future at that point in my life. So like
Right.
I had no interest, but I know my mom rode it with one of my older siblings. So yeah, I was there.
I missed that time, of Universal Studios. It wasn't the same. Granted, I didn't go to Harry Potter World because it was not done yet. But when I say this thing had fucking millions of dollars put into it, dude, it was fucking, from a distance, I would look up and it was fucking Hogwarts. I mean, dude, this thing was a fucking castle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a legitimate castle. So I'd actually like to go back, but dude, the memories I have as a kid going on the Jaws ride, I mean, permanently would scar the fuck out of me. Now, what would be cool, Nick, is to actually drain it and see the tracks. So you could see because it's the tracks with the shark. Just to see the mechanics of it would be fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God.
No, I'm telling you, dude. It was terrifying as a child being on that ride. No, just being on that ride because I was like, what if I fall off the boat? And like, I remember telling myself, it's not a real shark. It's on a track, dude. But I was like, I don't give a shit. This thing is big. And what if it goes rogue? Like, I mean, as a 9-10-year-old kid, I was terrified.
Same fears. And then as a kid, I remember thinking, but what if I fell off knowing that there's mechanics under the water? It's not like a lake or like, what if I hit something metal under me? I used to psych myself out, and I would always tell my dad, don't let me sit in the middle, but he would screw with me and always stick me on the end. But man, what a fun memories.
Mm-hmm.
Then they had the Mummy ride, which was fun too, because they had Brendan Fraser at the end of it, like on the video screen saying something. But no, it was much more fun when I was a kid, the theme parks. And then they had the King Kong ride, which was incredible, but that shut down. Might have been before 2004. This might have been like 2002 or something. They caught fire, so they had to shut it down. But I don't know, man. But I don't know. For me, what's interesting is none of these movies, especially in high definition, like I can tell you right now, Jaws 2 on 4K, it looked great, but something about Jaws 1, it looks so fucking pristine and expensive. It's bizarre.
Spielberg.
It's bizarre. Yeah, he's got literally, he gets the, but even at that time, dude, he was an up and coming director.
Yeah, but that talent, it's just there. Nobody that's directed a Jaws movie since him has had the touch, the flair. It doesn't mean that the other movies there aren't good movies. It's just there's only one Steven Spielberg, and no matter how old he was at the time, dude just had it. I think some people are born with it.
I think he's extremely good at dealing with actors. That's what I think that's one of the secrets to his success is, because reading Corey Feldman's book, for the Goonies, he just talked about how good Steven was with kids and how he would trick Corey to get a good reaction out of him. He would tell him, all right, now Corey, I need you to react to this, because Corey wanted Michael Jackson to come visit the set of the Goonies. And Steven kept saying, I'm going to talk to Michael soon. I'll get him on the set soon. And he had to react to something in the Goonies, like a happy reaction at the end of the film. And he told Corey, like, they rolled cameras on Corey, and he's like, all right, Corey, are you ready? I got to tell you something. Michael Jackson's going to be here in 30 minutes. And this is what Corey said. The shot of him at the end of the movie flipping out when they make it to shore or whatever happens. It's been a while since I've seen the Goonies. Like that's his reaction in the movie. And I feel like Steven Spielberg, all these actors, dude, that talk about working with him, they just such delight. Except Shia LaBeouf, who talked about like getting in Steven Spielberg's face and telling him like, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. This is to his own admission too. But then again, he talked about him being like a narcissist and having drug problems, whatever, at the time.
Yeah.
But
Shia had some issues.
He did, man. He had some issues. It sounds like he's trying to work through them. I watched some podcasts he did.
Yeah, him and Mia Goth just had a baby, I think, recently.
Yes, they did. They did.
Yeah.
He did it looks like he's trying to get his shit together. So, you know, I'm all for second chances. Reasonable second chances.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude, Jaws, I don't know. I think this is possibly the best horror film or just one of the best movies ever made. I mean, I think there's no doubt that this movie is the reason people are afraid of water.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt.
Yeah.
There's this thing in Dallas I've always wanted to do. I say I always want to do it. I probably psych myself out. They lock off a section of the beach somewhere on a Dallas beach. It might be in Austin, excuse me. I'm not sure. The city shows it to me. It's a yearly thing. It's a Jaws thing where they have like a giant projector screen on the beach and they block off a section where you grab an inner tube and they'll do like limited edition inner tube, like Jaws branded inner tubes and stuff for this like Jaws event that they do. And everybody literally gets on a raft in the water and watches Jaws from the beach in the water on a giant projector. It's a yearly thing. And Sydney's always like, we need to go do that. I'm like, you know how fucking paranoid I would be?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me? But it's cool. So people are all into it. And I don't know. I think it's Steven's greatest film he's ever done. And I'm so glad it's never been remade. If it does, that's when you lose all hope. I think some things are sacred. And Back to the Future and Jaws are two sacred films. I hope they never get remade ever, ever, ever.
Yeah.
That'll make me not believe in a higher power if that happens. That'll be the final straw for me if Back to the Future or Jaws gets remade.
Yeah. I don't think we have to worry about that.
Fucking pray. I remember there was a rumor about Justin Bieber going to be Marty McFly for like a while back in the day, like 10 years ago. Thankfully, it was all just bullshit. But, dude, everybody was talking about it. Anyway, Jaws 2, 1978. The sequel to Jaws. I mean, how do you feel about this movie? Because there's some people that like this more than one and call it a slasher film. So, I mean, where do you stand on something like that?
Yeah, I mean, you'd never catch me dead saying that Jaws 2 is better than Jaws. Just not the case. It's a good movie. I like Jaws 2. I always have. Rewatching it yesterday, I was just reminded of a lot of the reasons why I like the movie. It is more like a slasher movie. I think I think the depth, there's a little bit more. The writing isn't as strong. You said that, but I think there's some depth to Brody that I really, really dig. Him freaking out because obviously traumatized what happened last time and losing his job and stuff. Like the scene, I mean, I feel so bad for him. The scene on the beach where he shoots the school of fish and whatnot, and like everyone is like, it's fish, you dumbass. And like, you feel bad, but like as the viewer, you understand like why he reacted that way. And honestly, in that position, if I were one of the beachgoers there, I would have wanted him to, given what had happened there. Like if hey, better safe than sorry. One of my favorite scenes in the movie, it's underrated because, a lot of people will talk about the shark stuff and whatnot, and that's fine, is when he comes home shit-faced. Right after he gets fired and, comes in and he's all jovial about it. And then him and Ellen have this like, really good talk. And it's just, it's wild because it's like a moment of like, man, how the mighty have fallen. Like there's just this human side to him that you really get to see that I think is really important in the movie. And obviously The only thing about Jaws 2 that pisses me off is that we don't really get that moment with like the town where it's like, he was right. Like, he was right. Damn, our bad, man. Like, you don't get that moment, because the last time he really has interaction with all those people that doubted him is when he's basically like, I'm taking the boat and we're going to go out and we're going to go get Mike and Sean and, you know, like, and his partner's like, oh, I can't let you do that. He's like, what, are they going to fire us both?
Right.
So I wanted that moment for him. I felt like he deserved it, because most of that movie is the town second guessing him and ridiculing him and then ostracizing him. And I don't care what anybody says. The line, you know,
say
nowhere
it's
near.
not good to smile. You son of a
No. But it's a good movie. It's a good movie. One of the coolest things about this movie is that the shark has that fucking like half burned face, like the Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 mask, you know, like half burned face throughout most of the movie. I think that's so cool. And I also do think it's funny when he's like, do you think like a shark could have communicated to other sharks? They're like, they're sharks. They don't have feelings. Yeah, they don't take things personally. Yeah. But it's funny watching that in retrospect now, thinking about Jaws of Revenge, because you're like, oh shit.
I have a theory. Yeah,
I can't wait to get there. But yeah, I mean, Jaws 2, I think is really, really solid. Like, I mean, I'd probably give it like 4. Like, I really would. The effects aren't as good. The directing's not as good. And the character work isn't as good. But it's still really good. Like, it's still pretty damn solid.
I think you give me a scene you really like in part 2, I can trump it with something else from part 1. For instance, and there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes into play with that. Murray Hamilton, the mayor, found out his wife was diagnosed with cancer while filming Jaws 2. So there's not a lot of the mayor in the film. And the mayor's great. The mayor's fantastic. Amazing in 1, good in 2. Chief Birdie, Roy Scheider, did not want to do the film. Put that along with not getting along with the director. It's very public at this point. I actually think that angst plays into the role well for part 2, because his character is extremely angsty the entire movie.
Oh yeah.
He's dealing with his kid not wanting to listen to him. He's dealing with townspeople that annoy the piss out of him. Dealing with sharks while nobody believes him yet again. I just think you give me a great scene from 2. For instance, you tell me a great emotional scene from 2. How about when, you know, he's in the city council yelling at him about, like, I'm not going to let this happen again. Okay, let's go back to 1. What about the scene where the mother comes up to him and slaps him in the face and he's like, that was my boy, and you let people swim in it? Dude, it's no question. The depths of 1 are incredible. 1 has legitimately amazing moments in every act, memorable, whereas 2, good acts. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a sequel not being as good as sometimes. Like, you just need to be good enough. Like, it's a sequel, man. Like, it's a sequel. I think a lot of us and a lot of listeners, sometimes we've got to come to grips with that. Sequels, you could almost say by definition, are inferior. They're a follow-up to a popular work, you know? So I don't think it's bad. I think Jaws 2 is just really good. I would probably be around the same ballpark. 4 stars. But rewatching it the other day, especially just jumping into 2 and not seeing 1 first, all 2 will maybe want to do is go back and just watch the magic.
I think it's like Halloween and Halloween 2. I feel like you have to watch them, like, you know, back to back or in close succession. I think they work really well together. And just like Halloween and Halloween 2, it ups the ante a little bit in some ways, but it's just not as powerful as the first one. It's a good companion piece, but it's not a companion piece that was needed. If it didn't exist, you wouldn't be like, what am I going to do? No.
If it didn't exist, we're still talking about Jaws.
Yes. Just
every day of the week.
Yeah. Just like Halloween. So it's damn solid. It is really, really solid. I love the, putting the cyanide tips on his bullets. That shit's awesome. And his partner is so goddamn nosy, dude. He keeps looking in his office.
Looking in there. Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm Brody, I'm like, can I help you, mother? Like,
or if you're the other guy, just fucking ask. Be like, dude, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. He turned the light on too.
Yeah.
After Brody walked out, I'd be like, this is my office, bro. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Now,
but
there were rumors, Nick, that I say rumors. I don't know if it's true or not, whether it was in the script or whether it got filmed. They apparently either shot or in the script were going to film when they say, Brody, give us a minute, and they go into the city council room. Murray did, in fact, vote to keep Brody on as the chief of police.
it wouldn't surprise me.
Murray Hamilton, the mayor. Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me because I remember the moment at the table, like some of the glances and some of the dialogue, like you can almost tell, like,
because the mayor still, he experienced what happened in one. There was the moment where Brody's freaking out, and finally he cracks through to the mayor, and the mayor goes, "My kid was on that beach too. Let's get this shark." So it's a shame that I think Murray Hamilton kind of I don't know if he retired after Jaws 2. I think he was either extremely selective of his work after that. I think he might have passed away from cancer too. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've watched these documentaries, but it's a shame we couldn't have gotten another film with those two, because I think there is a Jaws film in another universe that existed after Jaws 2 where Murray Hamilton, the mayor and Brody take care of business in another film. They have to team up because there's a connection with those two. Like when you see them on screen together, it's great, especially when they're in opposition of each other. The beaches will be open and the people were having a great time.
Yeah. Isn't it funny to like go back with some of these movies too, and like with dialogue in these movies, like how people used to talk back then? It blows my mind. Like when I was rewatching Jaws 2 yesterday, this has always been a laugh moment for me in this movie, and I still laugh every time when they show up at the dock and he's like, "Hey, check her out." And he's like, "She's got tits like a sparrow." I'm like, who the fuck said that, dude? Like, what? It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know, man. 70s movies sometimes, like some of the dialogue, it's endearing because it's like, they talked like this back then. And like here in 2023, we're like, why the fuck would anybody talk like that? So
one last thing I forgot to mention about Jaws 1 I love is the small moments too. Like it's a Carcarius, and then that guy goes, "A what?" And then there's another guy. Then Hooper's like, this may not be the shark. He was measuring the mouth of it. And then this one Italian guy goes, "When you want to stick your head up in there and see if it's in there, that's the shark." Like it's like, dude, every moment in that first movie is perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the majority of the audience would probably agree that Jaws 2 is the best sequel.
Oh yeah.
Maybe there's going to be some people that will be in favor of maybe a different sequel, but I think for the most part, a lot of people would agree Jaws 2 is it justifies its existence. That's for sure. It's a great sequel. But it's not the best sequel I've ever seen. That's for sure.
Would that sequel that you're talking about be potentially the next one?
Jaws
3D?
Jaws 3D. So obviously there was a big craze during this time. We would see other films in the late 70s and early 80s, Nick. 3D was getting a second win. I believe Charlie Band was big on this. Charlie Band did a movie called Parasite starring Demi Moore, a very young Demi Moore. This was a 3D film. He did another 3D film. It was either called Metal Storm or Laser Blast, one of the two. I think it was Metal Storm. But 3D was coming back, and obviously Friday in the early 80s would hang on for a little bit. Friday the 13th, Amityville 3D, which Amityville 3D might be my favorite 3D movie from that era, believe it or not. And of course, Jaws 3D would happen, which is the background of our stream today, because I always love the artwork for Jaws 3D. This is a SeaWorld movie, which was very interesting because if you're a company like SeaWorld at the time, do you want your brand associated with a movie about a shark invading your park? I mean, let's really break this down for a second. I mean, would this happen with any company today?
Than what they get today, honestly.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Now they're they're looked at as a fucking jail cell for these killer whales.
They kind of are. They kind of are. Not like full stop. I do think that some of their practices are pretty fucking shitty. Like, yeah, dude, Jaws 3D. I remember watching this movie when I was a kid and thinking it was stupid. It fucking sucked. Like I just remember but like my mom had a soft spot for this one, and I didn't know why. I think it's because of Dennis Quaid, because she always said her brother, my Uncle David, kind of looked like him, and I remember thinking it sucked, and watched it in my teenage years, and I thought it was fine, and I rewatched it again yesterday, and it's still, for the most part, fine. I want to say that in the early to mid 80s, Leah Thompson was up there as like, yeah, she's beautiful. Sure. And I love her in this movie. And I really like Dennis Quaid in this movie. I really do. It's just, man, I mean, if we're going to be totally honest, it's a lot of the 3D is really bad. And like, I know some people that may love this movie might go, well, that was, product of its time. It wasn't. Amityville 3D, like you said, Friday the 13th Part 3. I feel like the 3D most of the time is better than the 3D we get in this movie. Like, I really, really do think it's better. There are moments of good 3D in this movie. You got the skeleton hand down at the bottom of the lagoon that pops out. Like, some of it is really organic and it's really cool. And then some of it, like the submersible, when they're in the control room, they see the fucking submersible and it's turning and the bottom disappears. The pixels disappear. It's gone. And I get it. It was an imperfect technology at the time. It was all the rage. Everybody wanted to do it. Like, I understand that. So I'm not going to like totally hold it against it. Or like when the shark is just floating, it's like superimposed and it's just like floating.
Yeah. It's like completely composite superimposed.
It's awful. Like, it is truly bad. But like, as far as some of that goes, like some of the stuff in this movie is really cool. Like I remember the first time I remember watching this movie, I knew that great white wasn't the shark. Like, they were like, oh, it's 10 feet long and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, there's no way. The shark in Jaws was like 33 feet or something. There's no way that's the shark. And then when they were like, that was the baby, I was like, no shit. Like and how many times throughout the movie did they say, there's a blockage in these pumps? I wonder what that giant fucking blockage is. I knew. Yeah. But I will say I do like a lot of the practical shark effects in this movie. The practical ones I think are really good. Like at the end when it's in the control room and they got to, pull the pin, and when it's in the pump going after the fucking British or Australian dude, can't remember his name. He's a fucking asshole. And he got all ate up. There's a lot of good practical effects in the movie. There's some decent acting. I really like Dennis Quaid and God, what's her name's Catherine, but what's the actress's name?
I know what you're talking about. She's the blonde-haired
marine biologist. I really like their chemistry. Like I overall, like I think the movie's fine. Like for me, I'd go like 2.5. Like I'd say it's average. Like it's purely average. And like, right. Yes, there's some cheesy dialogue. Yes, it's campy. And yes, there's some really bad 3D, but like, I think the performances by the leads are strong. I think the practical effects when they're there are good. And I think it was a cool little twist, like you said, SeaWorld, and then obviously adding the advent of like, we think it's this shark the whole time, or they're trying to convince us of that. And it's like, oh no, there's one 3 times the size of that. It's, it was cool, so it's fine.
Yeah, I feel like the movie plays out like a underwater Jurassic World movie, yes. Right? That's what it feels like. And
you even as far as like the CEO, the guy that runs the whole place, that's like, right. You feel like his concern is money, not the well-being of other people. And it's not till the end of the movie where you actually start to see that he gives a shit about other people.
Could you imagine this film under a different name, of course, but like this exact kind of film done today, like with the underwater cafe and stuff? I mean, that could be incredibly cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to judge the effects considering this was done in the early 80s, but it's like, look at what's around it. It's hard not to, because Friday the 13th did it the exact opposite way. Everything they did was probably somewhat more of a pain in the ass because there was no trickery of camera work or composites or whatever. Like a lot of stuff they did was in camera, so it probably
and you can't tell me the Jaws franchise did not have the money. They had the money to make some of these effects a little bit better.
I just think the thing for me about this film, why it's not my favorite either, I think it is a quick, it's a junk food Jaws movie. That's what I think it is. And I think that's fine. And I think you need that kind of film in this franchise, because there's the emotional depth that you would encounter with this one is extremely shallow. And I'm not hating on it, but compared to 1 or 2, it's much more shallow. So, and sometimes people don't want to go through the emotional journey that you feel with 1. Like maybe you don't feel like seeing the scene of, like, if you just want a fun Jaws, a shark movie, yeah, go to 3, because maybe you don't want to see the widow, not the widow, but the mom in black slapping Brody because her son just died. Maybe you don't want to go through that. So I think Jaws 3 is super fun, and I think it is one that if you saw it when you were really little, it sounded like you actually had the opposite effect. But I almost feel like a lot of kids, if you see this when you're little.
Oh, dude, my mom colored my opinion on that one. She did. I remember when she showed me this, she would talk shit about it. She had a soft spot for it, but she'd be like, it's nowhere near as good. So I feel like she colored my opinion as a kid to go into it and be like, this isn't very good.
Yeah. I think the concept of it is really cool. I just think
a shark invading one of these places, that's an awesome idea.
It's so bizarre. I mean, for the listeners, think about this. Like, SeaWorld had to approve this.
Yeah.
They had to approve this. So, you know, it's so funny because before, I don't think you were in the green room yet. You might have been, but the other day when we were getting ready to do episode 100, when Lee came in first, I was like, "What's up, Lee?" And he goes, "Hey, I just got back from SeaWorld." And it's so funny to me. It's so funny to me because I'm like, God damn, I can't believe they. Because I watched Blackfish, the documentary, dude.
Yeah,
it's like the Catholic priests. They just swap these. They kill somebody or swallow a trainer, so they ship them to Oakland or wherever the nearest sea. I don't know if there's an Oakland SeaWorld, for God's sakes. But like, you know, they're shipping these killer whales everywhere. They're probably pissed off, man. But I like Jaws 3. I think it's the junk food Jaws film, and there's nothing wrong with that. But both 1 and 2, I think, 1 for sure is, like I said, it's unrateable. It's above a star rating. It is a you know, culture would be different without Jaws. So I think 2 is a better example of, it's just a better movie in pretty much every way. But 3 is really fun, and Leah Thompson's great. Leah Thompson was such like a babe too. She did movies like, what's up, Carl? She did movies like Howard the Duck, which is bizarre, but she's a smoke show in that movie. She's beautiful, and she's great in this film too. And Dennis is great too. Although he may be psycho as well, because there's a clip of Dennis Quaid on the internet of him blowing up on a film set, like blowing up. And this is like relatively recent. It was probably like in the last 10 or 15 years. So he may be just as crazy as his brother, just behind the scene. Nah, I'm sure Randy's more psychotic. But I think the craziness runs in the family, because Dennis looks like he has a short fuse. But I would give Jaws 3 1 thumb up. I think it knows what it is. And that's, you can't hate it for that. I'm not going to judge the effects too much, because I don't know, man. They went for it, I'm sure, but maybe with the glasses it played off a lot better at the time. You know, maybe that composite shark looks a lot better.
Would you give it one bow or 2?
Oh, that's Carl's favorite Jaws film.
Oh. Yeah. I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it. If you gave it 1 thumb, that would be like 50-50. And I gave it 2.5 out of 5. So far we are in complete lockstep, which is why I'm super interested to get into Jaws the Revenge, Christian. Jaws the Revenge, the one I decided to not revisit when refreshing myself on this series. I'll let you take it away. And by the way, I just want to say, I know this movie was a gift. And I know that this was not to be taken super seriously. So with that frame of mind, I'll try to judge the movie on its merit. But yeah, go for it. Tell me about your experience.
So my first experience with Jaws: The Revenge, there was this guy. He's still around. He was called the Nostalgia Critic,
Oh yeah.
and Doug Walker's his name. And he's for every 5 people that watch the Angry Video Game Nerd, I'd say 2 know and probably watch the Nostalgia Critic. And I found him years ago, and sure enough, he did an episode on Jaws 4, and I was like, "Fuck, there's a 4th one." I didn't know that. Fast forward to 2023, I have an original movie poster in my bathroom because I have a Jaws bathroom. But I watched this review of this movie. I'm like, this doesn't. None of this movie makes any logical sense at all. I've got to see it for myself. So I get the movie. I'm watching it. Everything about it is beyond plausible. I think the opening scene has some. If I had no idea anything about this movie, the opening scene I think had a little bit of promise with the youngest son getting killed on the dock by the shark, because it happens at night, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's creepy. It's like a night killer shark. I think Lorraine just. Let me just get into my theory. So obviously this movie is ridiculous because in the mom's mind, she legitimately thinks like the shark mafia family has decided we've got to take out the Brodies at all costs. Like it's like the Gaudis or something in fucking downtown Philadelphia. And then they go to fucking the Bahamas. Which now the sharks have traveled to the Bahamas.
Great white sharks like colder water.
Right. Of course, it is cool seeing Lance Guest from Halloween 2 in this movie.
Yeah, Michael Caine.
Michael Caine, of course.
Caine.
Which Michael Caine, he has done some really interesting films. He's done some really low-budget horror. He's done some really good horror, like Just to Kill. But Michael Caine's philosophy, and I learned this on a documentary, his philosophy was, you're an actor, take the jobs. If you can get the jobs, take the jobs and act. So Jaws 4 comes on his table, he's fucking doing it.
I would have too. I mean, just name recognition alone, it's Jaws.
It's Jaws. I just think that my theory really doesn't make sense when I myself start to break it down. But my initial thought when I try to because I went through a phase where I desperately felt like I needed to defend Jaws: The Revenge because the argument is it is a horrible piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. I think the movie is... So there's 2 kinds of good, bad films. There are hatchet movies where Adam Green, and for some reason this goes over people's head, and I can't understand it, and I'd like to talk about these films one day, maybe relatively soon. He's clearly parodying slasher films with hatchet. He's going over the top. And people think like, oh my God, this is not why slasher movies are good. He's doing way too much. But like, no, he's doing that's on that's called a purposeful good, bad movie. Where Jaws: The Revenge, dude, they're all giving it hell. So this is one of those instances, I think, where, they're trying to make a good film. I mean, everybody's heart's in it. I feel, Lance Guest, like, he's never said, oh no, we knew this movie was ridiculous. I think this is one of those cases where there's barely a script, but it's so outlandish to me that I said to myself, I think what's the underlying theme is behind this movie is Ellen Brody literally has lost her marbles, and like she's literally lost it. I think she's having a mental breakdown. And that's like the underlying premise of her character. This is not expressed in the film at all. I'm injecting this myself. And I feel like that's probably my rationalization for saying, yes, I like Jaws: The Revenge. And of course, she has no idea to know whether these sharks have a mafia, or the fact that she has a flashback of a scene that she couldn't have possibly known about because she wasn't in the water with Brody leaning on the skyrise of his boat, whatever you call that, the outlook thing where you climb the thing. And he's hanging on to the top of the boat that hasn't sunk yet, where he shoots the shark. She has a clear vision of that from part one. But I'm saying to myself, this woman is psychotically broken, and that's why she's having these emotional fits of the shark mafia is coming after my family. Then it's like, okay, that's one thing. If she's just having these thoughts, this is where I break down my own rationalization. Having those thoughts is one thing, but the fact that there is a shark actually there is another thing. But then you have to say, well, that's a bad rationalization because sharks don't go to Jamaica or the Bahamas, whatever. So
Not great.
So it's complete. This whole movie is completely implausible. But for some reason, I just enjoy watching it. So like that's how I feel about it. And I think the wife of the movie, Lance Getz's wife, is a little bit of a bitch. Quite frankly, I don't like her that much in this movie. I like Lance. I like his Jamaican friend. The ending of the movie is fucking ridiculous, where they blow him up with sonar sound. Have you seen the television ending where he gets stabbed?
I don't think so.
Okay, so after this, go on YouTube. I'll link you. The ending of Jaws 4, the TV cut. It's never been put on. It might have been put on the DVDs as a bonus feature. I'm not sure, but it's on YouTube. And here's the crazy thing, Nick. I've seen Jaws of Revenge a number of times on TV. Only one time did I actually see it play with the television cut. Every other time was the regular cut, the theatrical cut, which makes less sense. So in the theatrical cut, they put like those sonar beep on like a buoy or something. The shark eats the buoy, and they sonar blast the shark's ass, and he explodes. Ridiculous. In the television cut ending, plausible, but still ridiculous. But theoretically, this could happen. The bow of the ship stabs the shark in the chest when the shark launches out of the ground and roars like a fucking tiger. But then again, it roars in a theatrical cut ending too. But the shark comes up and the bow stabs the shark. Stabs it. And so the bow breaks, the ship sinks, and the shark dies because it's bleeding out. And it's funny because if you look at the television cut, it's a miniature. And it's clear as fucking day, a miniature. So you see this little toothpick stab a plastic shark or a rubber shark, whatever. But for a split second, it's kind of cool. Now, that's more plausible to me than blowing up a shark with a sonar buoy.
Yeah.
And then the shark roars.
Hey, let's not forget to mention the shark roared a couple times in Jaws 3.
Can you imagine if a shark actually roared, dude? I mean, that'd be fucking terrifying.
A 30-foot great white might. It really might.
So, I mean, I'll let you go because I could talk about this movie all day. It's somehow this is the Troll 2 of shark movies because Claudio Fragasso was in his mind making good movie. So much to that this very day because of his not understanding American culture and not understanding he's being laughed at when he legitimately goes to these conventions. I mean, it's on video. People ask him questions as a joke and it completely goes over his head. He speaks broken English. This movie, dude, they were going for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear to me, but it's so fucking over the top stupid. And that's the magic of a truly good bad movie. That's why those slasher films from the 80s, they have charm to them. They were Madman and a lot of those. They're trying to make a good movie, but they can't act, and the stories are very plausible and weak in some of them. So Jaws 4, I'm a fan of it, but I've stopped trying to defend it. So I'll stop because I'm rambling. But I have a kinship with Jaws: The Revenge.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything you said is spot on. I don't think you can really fault a movie. Like everything that you've outlined is like the premise is ass. So no matter the fact that everyone is giving their all, they're trying to make the best movie they can. That is true. I don't think anybody's phoning it in. It's just the premise is ass. So if the house that you're built on, if you're built on a foundation that's rotted out, it doesn't really matter what's inside. The shit's gonna fall. Now, having said that, yeah, I would say it's obviously ridiculous, but I like this movie more than I like, say, Halloween Resurrection.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Jaws 3.
No, and it's like I can accept all. I mean, I'd still give this movie like 1.5 stars. Like, it's not. I don't think it's an abomination. People call it an abomination because, like I said, the premise is booty. But like, okay, that is the premise. We have to accept that. That's the premise. Sucks ass. Okay. Everything else about it, though, how is it? Is the acting decent? Yeah, it's pretty decent. Are there some cool effects and kill? Yeah. Okay. So, like, I know a premise is what a movie is like centered around. If your premise sucks, whatever. But everything else I think is okay. So, like, I don't hate this movie either. But the reason I didn't rewatch this one was because I've seen this movie a handful of times. My opinion's never changed on it. Even the first time I watched this movie, I didn't walk away going, oh my God, what a piece of shit. Like, no, I just walk. It's like laughing. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of laughing. You're just like, yeah, you nailed it when you talked about her having that vision of something that didn't happen to her. She wasn't even there. When you see that in this movie, you're like,
wait a minute.
I know where we are now. Like, you're Great White in the Bahamas. Okay, Great White that wants to fucking murder the Brody family. Like, it's just, it is what it is, man. Like, it is what it is. You take it at face value for what it is. It's a bad premise, but they try to spin gold out of shit, and they don't spin gold out of it. But sometimes a little bronze comes out.
I'm trying to remember if there were any great shark moments in this film. I think there were. I just think it's silly. There's one where there's like the inner tube stuff going on the beach, and you get a good shot of the shark like biting on this girl. And then there's one shot, if you pause it at the right time, you actually see a little bit of the track that the shark is on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where it's like you just see the shark like they're showing it travel the Bahamas, and you just all of a sudden you just see a shot underwater, and all of a sudden the shark comes right in front of you. For a split second, you can see the track.
I wanted to ask you, I know you know the behind the scenes of these movies a lot more than I do. Do you know that do you know if in this movie's inception, in its early stages, did they try to get Roy Scheider back?
Probably not, because he didn't even want to do the second one, and I think he didn't want to do the second one. I think he was contractually obligated, and he was pretty vocal that he would never want to come back. I think they had to even get his permission just to use his imagery.
Yeah, his likeness. They would have to.
I'd have to say probably not. I'd have to say probably not. And then he would have wanted a lot of money. And no, I don't think he was. But I
think it's wild to me that he didn't want to come back for 2. I mean, I get it. You made a perfect movie. Why ever touch it again? But Jaws and Jaws 2, Roy Scheider could have never acted again in his life, and he would have been set. Like,
you also have to imagine too, man, how much of a pain in the ass making a movie on the water like that is.
Oh, dude.
You know what
I
mean?
But Roy Scheider, that motherfucker was brown because of how tan he was.
He was brown. He looked like leather.
Yes. Like he that he was like that friend's dad that was so cool, that would like chain smoke a fucking pack of cigarettes and a half a day. He'd be throwing back natty lights in the garage, listening to old vinyls. That was Roy Scheider. You knew he was just like, he just had that look that you were like,
he looked like if he had long hair, he could be like, dude, like the best Cherokee Indian.
Oh, dude.
You know what I mean?
He's a fucking white dude, but like he's so brown. He's so brown because the sun, like the sun just cooked him.
Yeah. No, yeah, I highly know they have.
You're probably right, but yeah, I'd give it 1.5. I'm feeling generous. I thought 1. I was like, nah, 1.5, whatever. Michael Caine, Lorraine, Lance Guest. I'll give it 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree. I thumbs in the middle at best. It It's got this weird, I don't know what you call it. I always come back for more.
Yes.
With it.
Like abusive relationship.
Yeah.
You can't break out of it. You're just like, you're mean to me, but you're all I know.
Yeah. This movie has an incredible, dude, the poster for this was incredible because it's the iconic image of the shark like they use for all of them. But it's this massive tsunami that the shark has created, and Ellen Brody's got a fucking like spike in her hand. Like I said, I got an original poster from somebody that owned it, was a chain smoker, because all the white rim, it's all dark yellow. So like the nicotine smoke faded all of it. It's gorgeous. But every time I look at the poster when I'm taking a shit, I'm just like, God, this is a great looking poster because it's right in front of me when I'm on the toilet. It is.
So I mean, I think a lot of you listeners probably expected us to be a little bit harder on Jaws of Revenge, but no. We'll reserve that for what's next, Christian. What's the last one?
The last one is Cruel Jaws, but before we get to that, just for a few minutes at most, I wanted to ask, are there any other shark movies that you just want to mention that you're a fan of before we wrap up the Jaws-a-thon?
Okay, so I just grabbed one off the shelf that I've loved since the first time I saw it, but I have
Deep Blue Sea.
I have to say Deep Blue Sea. Yeah, I love that movie.
Fucking incredible.
Yes. The Meg, I really liked The Meg. I thought it was fun. I can't wait for the second one next month. Like I'm actually looking forward to it. I thought it was really fun.
I did like that one too.
But this one, man, Shark Night. I have a blast.
I haven't seen that.
With Shark Night. It came out in 2011. Came out in 3D, right in the early 2010s era.
Yeah.
Cast in it, you got Sarah Paxton's in it. Everybody knows who she is. If I showed you a picture of her, you'd know who she was. I think it's PG-13. Is it PG-13? Yeah, it's PG-13. But it's fun, man. It's dumb, but it's fun. I'm pretty sure I haven't watched it in a couple years. I'm actually going to rewatch it again here soon. But I think it's bull sharks, so it's not like a great white thing, and it's like a swarm of bull sharks. And bull sharks are notoriously assholes. It's a fun ass time. Like everybody will say Deep Blue Sea, everybody will say The Meg, and those are great. But Shark Night, 2011.
Check that out. I haven't seen that. There's even shittier Italian shark movies that I could show you. There's one called Deep Blood that's even worse. From 1990. There's a few others I wanted to mention. What's the one where at the end of the movie it's like two girls where they got to propel themselves back up?
47 Meters Down is really good.
It's pretty good. And what about the one with the broad that's Shallows? Like The Shallows?
Blake Lively.
I thought that was pretty good too. Yeah.
47 Meters Down Uncaged, not good. Not good.
The shark attack movies. Let me Google something real quick.
47 Meters Down Uncaged. You've got
that was Sistine Stallone in that one, I think. One of the Stallone kids is in that one.
In Uncaged?
47 Meters Down too. Yeah, one of the Stallone kids is in that one.
Where's it at? Here it is.
It might not be Sistine. Yeah, dude, the shark attack movies.
Stallone.
Yeah, there's 3 Shark Attack movies. Shark Attack was in 99, Shark Attack 2 is 2000, Shark Attack 3 is in 2002. They're fucking hysterical. Those are some of my favorites. They're all on Tubi, too. Some of the funniest CGI I've ever seen.
Tubi! So you know. That's actually...
Tubi's the fucking best, dude.
Where I watched Cruel Jaws was Tubi. I know you said it was on YouTube. I watched it on Tubi.
Good. Yeah, so there's a lot of... I love shitty shark movies. Like I said, the Shark Attack movies are fucking incredible. Was there a movie... There was a movie I saw with Urkel in it, and it was...
It's like, a shark movie?
Steve Urkel, the actor, Jaleel White. Let me just see what the name of this was, because it was fucking horrible. Jaleel White shark movie. It was Mega Shark vs. Crocosaurus. It's on Tubi. It's a horror disaster film in 2010. Dude, it was bad.
It looked like butthole. And also I've never seen a single Sharknado movie, and I don't plan on changing that.
I actually think you'd like some of them. The first, they're fucking hysterical. I'm not kidding, dude. I've seen all of them, and the problem was what made it funny. They tried to leverage hard into that, which was trying to make fun, like trying to make a good movie. And so by the third one, they're like, okay, so what we need to do is purposely be silly. The first two, it's so funny because like what's so funny is like they started getting cameos by the second one. Do you know who Chris Jericho is, the professional wrestler? I think it's in part two where he's a roller coaster, like a carny roller coaster guy, and he takes his role so seriously in the movie. Like when the Sharknado's coming and people are trying to jump off the roller coasters, he's like, "Don't unbuckle your seatbelts. This is OSHA safety violations you're breaking." Like I can't do it justice what I'm saying right now, but I actually really think you need to see the first two because they're trying to make. It's like Jaws: The Revenge. They're trying to make movies, and it became a phenomenon. It was just a like all it was, Nick, was it was a late night sci-fi films, but for some reason it was a phenomenon. The ratings for the movie were going up as it was premiering because people were like, "Holy fuck, you've got to put this on TV. Go to sci-fi right now." And when I say it became a phenomenon. And by the third one, I checked out because I was like, "Oh man, like they're leveraging into, it's like they're purposely doing what they were accidentally doing." And so the magic was gone.
Yeah.
But I actually think that the first two are pretty fucking hysterical. I don't know if I'm sure there's something we're leaving out. But there's some good ones. There's some people that say there's no good shark movie besides Jaws. I mean, there's nothing as good, that's for sure, including its sequels. But Deep Blue Sea is one of my favorites, and I think that's a movie that blends good CGI in there. You got a great director. You've got, dude, LL Cool J did some like he showed that you can be a musician celebrity and translate to acting well, but he also made people think that anybody could do it, which sucks. But LL, dude, he's great, especially because he's like, "This is for my parrot," and he blows up that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie, dude. It's like Titanic with sharks or something. Like, that's a great movie, dude. And then, dude, Samuel Jackson's death. The first time I watched it, it fucked me up.
Yes, dude, it caught me by surprise.
Wasn't it a killer whale that ate him though, or was it a shark? I think it was a killer whale.
I can't remember.
Dude, I think it was a killer whale.
I haven't watched that movie in years.
What killed Sam Jackson in Deep Blue Sea? Dude, I think it was a killer whale. Oh no, it was a shark. For some reason, dude, I feel like the shark had spots on it or something.
Shark comes up out of fucking nowhere.
It's like a pool thing.
Yeah, just bop.
I'll tell you what I want in life. I want somebody to make a shark movie specifically about a hammerhead, because to me, hammerheads are fucking terrifying, and they're actually one of the more aggressive sharks, like in the world, like legitimately. They're
tiger shark,
yeah.
shark.
Hammerheads are aggressive, and I feel like, dude, those are like things made out of nightmares. So, I would actually like to see a movie about a hammerhead. And I think those get fairly big, maybe not monstrously big, but dude, they're scary looking animals. So, yeah, ugly. But yeah, there's a lot of good ones. And of course, guys, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please drop down below some of your ideas for your favorite shark movies that you've seen, good or bad, because there's a lot in the good bad category. So, with that being said, we're gonna move on to our final movie, Cruel Jaws, aka Jaws 5. This is an Italian-made film with a reputation that is not good, but it's also not necessarily bad in the same vein. I guess I could tell you real quick, Nick, how I heard about this film. I actually am not a lifelong Jaws 5, aka Cruel Jaws fan. So what happened was the company Severin Films, 2 or 3 years ago, they announced on Blu-ray Cruel Jaws, aka Jaws 5. And as a matter of fact, the super limited version of the film was a slipcover that said Jaws 5 on it, which is what it was pseudo known as. The interesting thing was movies overseas, you've probably noticed it before. They'll be marketed completely different, sometimes illegally marketed. There's a movie called Night Killer that was marketed as Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 in Italy. And I think this was the case with Cruel Jaws. So it got the reputation of Jaws 5. So I hear about this from Severin, and I was like, I've got to get this movie. I've got to see it. And some people would tell me, dude, it's really bad. Don't get it. Don't waste your money. And other people would tell me, dude, it's so bad. You've got to get it. So I went with the latter. And I was just flabbergasted at how ridiculous it was, and seeing actual clips from Jaws, while brief, they're there, which made this film illegal, among other things. But this may be the worst shark movie. Deep Blood's pretty bad, but something about Cruel Jaws is resoundingly, preposterously bad. And before I talk about specifics, you obviously just saw it. So, I mean, did it meet your expectations of badness? Because I mean, I'm just wondering your opening thoughts on it, because, you know, most people laugh when they say Cruel Jaws. So, and you are. So, I mean, just tell me what you're thinking seeing Cruel Jaws.
I mean, I've seen worse movies for sure. Vanessa was really hot. And Billy's dumb, you know, for caring so much about fish. She was trying to get it on. Yeah, within the first 5 minutes of the movie, with the acting and some of the line deliveries, I was like,
Good God,
we're here now. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. The premise is cool. I actually do think the premise is pretty solid. You know, like, hey, we've got this whole like event going on in this boat regatta and everything like that. And like, just like in, you know, Jaws and Jaws 2, it's like, well, we can't shut down the fucking town, basically. Like, fuck it, whatever. And it's like, you probably should though. So like, that's not terrible. Like I said, there's some, you know, there's some nice late 80s, early 90s babes. It's a 90s movie, but it feels so 80s.
brother.
Yeah, it's ooh,
The Hulk
man.
Hogan lookalike is my favorite.
Dude, I was gonna say that. That motherfucker looked like Hulk Hogan.
Brother.
Also, the girl that's supposedly paralyzed, but when she falls in the water, is kicking her legs around.
Just the fact that they knocked a girl in a wheelchair into the water,
yeah,
I feel is the most fucked up, funniest shit ever.
yeah, it's man, yeah, it was not good at all.
Don't you love low budget movies' ability, or the low budget version of nighttime scenes is to put like
they fucking just mute the color, or they put like a fucking thing over the lens.
It's like a pre-select filter.
Yeah,
that
I was gonna mention that.
Dude, it's clearly fucking daylight. It's clearly 12 o'clock in the evening while they're filming.
It pissed me off. I was like, it like hurts to look at. Like, it's because it's not naturally dim. The natural light is bright. So it's like, it's just off-putting. Yeah, man, it's
that is a classic low budget Italian horror movie trope. But you're going to learn to love it.
I will say, I mean, there were a few points where the shark looked like a toy.
Right. Especially when it comes, it just like, there are moments where it just pops out.
Yes.
Lockjaw.
Yes.
You know, and it's just like, God, what kind of crane machine did you guys get this thing out of?
Yeah, it is, it's a bad movie. But I've seen worse. So 1 star.
1 star. I'll give it 1.5, because my favorite moment of all time my favorite moment in cinema happens in Cruel Jaws.
Oh my God.
I don't know how they could edit this so poorly. And I don't know if you noticed this, because like there's a lot shitty going on with Cruel Jaws that you kind of get desensitized to it. There is a shot in the film where it's Hulk Hogan and there's two guys with him. The two guys are with him. And they're just like walking down like the pier or the dock or something, or walking down the beach or something. The shot is set up. The guys are standing in frame. And the scene doesn't start with them walking. They literally show the three guys stand up like this, and all of a sudden they get the cue, and then they start walking. And they don't edit the intro of that to where they cut to where it's just the guys walking in the pier. They literally are standing there waiting for the cue, and then they start walking. If you watch the movie again, you'll notice it, and it's literally the worst edit job ever. They left that part in. Obviously, the audio of the director saying, all right, head my way, hit your marks, and then they start moving. No, you see them standing there waiting for their cue, and then they start acting. It's fucking incredible why they didn't cut that. But it's in Cruel Jaws, and it's my favorite moment of all time. That sums up Cruel Jaws. But the story with Severin is the most interesting part about this.
I read about that they were about to, like, it was a thing, and then it was like, no, that's illegal. You can't do that because they have footage that they were not licensed to use.
So let me just grab it really quick. Really quick. So here's my copy. So what happened was, about 3 years ago, they put this on sale, Cruel Jaws. And there's little Hulk Hogan on the back. But it was pre-order. I pre-ordered the film. And Nick, literally within 2 weeks after I got it, they did two things happen. Severin announced the movie. I mean, you've heard of this movie. You've probably seen this movie. It's a cult classic called Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah.
Severin announces Drop Dead Fred. Now, this was a big, big deal at the time. Because when Drop Dead Fred got announced, that is the definition of a cult movie, where the fan base is there, but big Hollywood would never acknowledge this kind of movie's existence. Severin announced it. Now, this was a groundbreaking kind of title for Severin, because they put out a lot of cult movies, small cultish films like Cruel Jaws, where idiots like me will buy this, but they don't have big premiere titles, obviously, like a Scream Factory or Arrow. All of a sudden, people were like, dude, I went to the website to get Cruel Jaws, because I had a few people ask me about it. Then Dead Pit, I'm sure, was talking about it, and Pizzle was talking about it. A lot of people in the physical media world were talking about it. Like, yeah, dude, Severin dropped it. It's gone. And then everybody knew the obvious answer was Universal said, we're suing. Or I think this is what happened. Severin got in big trouble and had to pay out to Universal by probably some kind of small lawsuit. Like, hey, you have to pay us X amount. Whatever you sold, give us the money. Severin is not a major company. So I don't think that their bank account, if you will, is that big. All of a sudden, Nick, Drop Dead Fred they announced we are no longer doing Drop Dead Fred. A week or so later, Vinegar Syndrome says we're doing Drop Dead Fred. So the rumor is Vinegar Syndrome, which has the most dedicated physical media community in the world in the boutique labels, got people die for it, Nick. Vinegar Syndrome really has a package where you pay X amount a month and you just get every movie that they release. And Nick, people pay for this, and it's not fucking cheap. Okay. So the rumor is Vinegar Syndrome says we'll fucking bail you out, but we're getting Drop Dead Fred. So that's the speculation as to what happened. So Severin took a big chance. I think they just thought they would get away with it, but word got to Universal. They said, fuck you. Give us the money for what you sold on this, because it has our footage in here. And so that's what happened. Now, again, this is speculation, but dude, this was like when this went down, people were like, everybody was talking about this. It was crazy. So the people that not only have this, Nick, but have it with the slipcover that Severin made that says Jaws 5, Cruel Jaws. It's very, very expensive. But somehow the movie is on Tubi and YouTube, which is interesting because you watched it on Tubi, but clearly Severin got sued over this. So
well, somebody paid Universal to the point where Universal was like, whatever, we don't give a fuck.
Right. And
they got a large sum of money and they were like, do what you want.
Yep. And a lot of people think it has to have been Vinegar Syndrome because I think their bargaining chip with them was, oh, if we can get Drop Dead Fred, we have the market for that. That's our key demographic. So they put out Drop Dead Fred. So that was crazy shit behind the scenes. So
Cruel Jaws.
I have it. I'm one of the lucky 3,000 people, I guess, that has Cruel Jaws. And dude, they actually restored it pretty damn well. Like I'm sure it's better than what they have on Tubi, which it's interesting. I have to wonder. There's only one way for me to know. I'm gonna have to watch this on Tubi to see if they omit the Universal stuff in here. I don't know because it's not it's subtle unless you noticed it.
I heard the Star Wars theme twice on Tubi.
Okay.
Twice. I saw footage from previous Jaws films.
Then who's licensing that on Tubi? That's no, again, Nick, what I'm saying, I could be off on it, but that's what people are saying. I mean, when you put 2 and 2 together, Severin announces Drop Dead Fred. They pull Cruel Jaws right as they announce Drop Dead Fred. Then all of a sudden, Vinegar Syndrome says,
"Yeah, that's not even that's not a conspiracy theory. I think that's probably exactly what happened, but I don't think either side will ever admit it."
No.
Yeah, we had to go to Vinegar Syndrome to save our asses. No, there, yeah.
So I don't know. It's crazy. But with that being said, man, I actually think it's worth it for people to check out Cruel Jaws.
I heard a lot of bad shit about it, and I've seen far worse films. So at the end of the day, though, my Jaws ranking is in order. Like honestly, it's in order.
1, 2, 3, 4, Cruel Jaws.
Yeah.
Man,
I think the only thing for you is what's better, The Revenge or Cruel Jaws? Because you gave both 1.5.
I would give The Revenge the edge over Cruel Jaws still.
No controversy here, guys.
I would. Some days I might tell you I out of a strange compulsion to put Jaws 4 over Jaws 3. But I don't think in good conscience I can do that right now. No. I think going straight down the line is exactly how I feel. Which, if you look at the slasher series, some people will say, well, yeah, they are slasher. But if you look at a horror series, that's not a bad thing. It's actually, it just kind of makes sense. The fact that each one gets a little bit worse.
Yeah, it goes in order, man. It goes in order. And I guess the question to the people, and my God, I got to give Jaden a shout out. Jaden, you fought hard for this. You wanted this episode, and you wanted Cruel Jaws included, and you wanted me to watch Cruel Jaws. You got your wish. Now Jaden has a question, and I think a lot of people have a question. Christian, is Cruel Jaws a Jaws movie?
What's the name of the movie?
There you go. It is Jaws 5.
I think it forced its way into the franchise.
Yeah, it didn't ask. It's like that ugly stepchild that nobody really wanted, but is there. So you're just like, whatever. But I will say too, as far as
the same font, I mean, it's
as far as the series goes from here, I know that in the 2010s, Spielberg expressed interest in coming back to Jaws, and it even said, I think as recent as 2020, if they do another Jaws movie, I want to be involved. Would I like to see another Jaws movie if Spielberg's involved? Yes, but not a remake. You have to differentiate. You have to be able to say whether it's loosely tied to another movie in the series, whether I don't know what it is. I'd like to see another one if Spielberg is involved because I feel like it could be a good movie. But do not remake it. Don't. If Spielberg came back, Christian, Would you be open to a Jaws requel of sorts? Not a remake.
I just don't know. I don't know. I think there could be an argument that Spielberg, while he's still active and he's still working at a very high level, that his time might have come to handle big projects like this.
Now, what about Cruel Jaws 2?
I'd sleep better at night knowing that.
Bring William Snyder back.
The
old Alan Smithy treatment.
Here's the problem, Nick. I don't care how much CGI has improved since then. I think
don't use it.
That's the argument.
But if I'm telling you right now, if Spielberg was a hands-on producer of a new movie, I guarantee it would be mostly practical effects.
You think so? I mean,
if he was hands-on, we're not talking John Carpenter producer Halloween 2018.
I know, but
that's his baby. He said,
I know, but he made a whole movie. Granted, said the same thing, but he made a whole movie that was CGI, didn't he? It was called Ready Player One. So it's like he's not anti-CGI.
Yes,
I'd have to hear him talk about his idea for the film.
I mean, you heard
Who am I to approve it? But like, dude, that's how protective I am.
I believe years ago he did say, as long as he's alive, he will never let it be remade. Like, he will not allow it.
Zemeckis said that about Back to the Future as well.
Yeah. So I think if Spielberg was on board, he would have to be hands-on. It wouldn't be a producer credit like, hey, I'm getting a lump sum of money and you can put my name on it. No, I feel like he'd be like on set. People don't know. Transformers 2007, he was very hands-on as a producer. Like, very hands-on. They slapped his name on the subsequent sequels, but the only one he was hands-on with was the very first Transformers movie.
Right.
And that's why you get a lot of these E.T. parallels with Sam and Bumblebee. Like, because E.T., Spielberg. Like, so if Spielberg was like, let's do it, knowing how protective he is over that movie, I feel like that motherfucker would go in a boardroom meeting before a script even got written and said, if we're doing this, we're doing X, Y, and Z. That doesn't mean there wouldn't be CGI, but I guarantee you it would be minimal. I have too much respect for the guy to believe that he would sell out his soul when it comes to Jaws if he was attached to it. I just don't think he would.
I'm thinking about it.
Because you and I both know, we can sit here and we can talk about how great the first Jaws movie is. You and I both know in our lifetimes, we will see another Jaws movie. Is it a remake? Is it a requel? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You and I both know we're going to see it. It is going to happen. It's a foregone conclusion. Jaws to the public is revered just as much, maybe a little bit more so, but still just as much as movies like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those movies got remade decades ago. So eventually Jaws is going to be revisited. And so if I say that it's an inevitability. Okay, I accept that. Do it while he's still alive. I want him to be a part of it because I do not trust them to do it well without him. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you're 30 years old. I'm 28.
31.
You're 31. Yes, you're 31. I know. I was being kind. You're 30. I was rounding down. You're 31. I'm almost 29. We got best case scenario 50, 60 years left. Are we going to see another Jaws movie in that 50, 60 years? Yeah. Yes, we are. We are. We're going to see it. It's going to fucking happen. Do it while Spielberg's still alive. You know it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen.
I know, but it's just like, dude, they don't need to remake the Mona Lisa. People still just go visit it and see that one.
They didn't need to remake Halloween. They didn't need to remake the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That they didn't need to do it. You have said Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the greatest horror film of all time. They remade that.
In my opinion.
I say, in my opinion, Halloween is. They remade. Not only did they remake that shit, they're like, hey, Rob Zombie, why don't you take a stab at it? Rob Zombie was still a pretty unproven horror director at that time, and they gave him Halloween. Like, it's going to happen with Jaws. It's gonna happen.
I get anxiety thinking about it.
I know, I do too. You listeners, you know it too. You're listening, and I know you might think, I don't ever want to see that, but it's gonna happen. It's gonna fucking happen. So if you're gonna do it, and I know you are, and Christian knows you are, and you listeners know you are, do it while he's still alive. That's my only thing.
My concern is just like I said, I watched the Oscars, and I watched Steven Spielberg have this movie come out called The Fabelmans or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I just see him lose every category that the movie had. And I'm thinking to myself while I'm watching Brendan win and I'm watching all these everywhere, all at once people win, it kind of bummed me out because I'm saying to myself, damn, is Steven Spielberg, did he have his time in the sun? And he can't connect. He doesn't know what the heart of American culture is anymore, how to grab people like he did. That's my concern, because the reason Jaws works so well, obviously, is not because of just a shark. It's not just that. I mean, you got to have Peter Benchley wrote the movie. He made the book. I mean, it's not just Steven Spielberg that made that what it was. He had a big hand in simplifying the movie. Yes, he got rid of all those, because the elements of adultery was in Peter's book, and he eradicated all of that. Because Steven, dude, a lot of his movies were like that. I don't know what you call it, like just that Reagan era plutonic
It's a time
family,
capsule.
you know.
Yeah,
but does he understand what today's world is like? That's my concern. That's my concern. Is you know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm thinking about. It's not even so much the Jaws the shark anymore. I just don't know.
It's the same thing as wondering if a big reason why a lot of people, I think you and I included, are skeptical about if, say, John Carpenter ever directed a movie again before he dies, because it's like, but has your time come and gone? Like, would it be a good thing? John, that's unproven. I don't know. Spielberg, though,
a lot of people would say that The Ward is just not a good movie.
I think it's average, but
that's not good for
John Carpenter. That's not good enough. Yeah. But I would say Steven Spielberg, I take this personally because I am a big Transformers fan. And I will tell you, all the arguments that you have against Transformers, I understand. But you cannot tell me to my face that Transformers 2007 does not have direct parallels to that relationship in E.T., that it doesn't work on that level, because it does.
I wouldn't argue that. I would just say that was still nearly 20 years ago.
True. But
it's 2023 now.
2007 was very different than 1975. So
but 2007, is that closer to 1975 almost than
no.
But my point is, dude, 2007 was like the heartbeat before social media took over.
True. It is true, but I just
feels like a lifetime ago.
You're right. I'm just saying that I guess the question you have is a valid one, and I can't answer it until I see it. None of us can. We can't answer whether or not he could still capture lightning in a bottle.
Who's writing the film? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a very important question.
And who's starring in it?
Well, we're gonna get Pete Davidson. Who knows? All I know is I think it's an inevitability that Jaws gets revisited in my lifetime, and accepting that inevitability, I'm saying do it while he's still alive rather than doing it after he's gone.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day, another podcast where we'll fucking rant about a fucking terrible CGI Jaws remake. Can't wait for that. Episode 250. You heard it here first. That's when it's going to be. Can't wait. I mean, the 50th anniversary is coming up. Don't think they're not going to notice that. And it's Universal we're talking about here. Just saying.
Yeah, that's true. Did he have any involvement with the Jurassic Park Dominion?
No. He had involvement with Jurassic World. The first of the requel trilogy, but I think after that they just slapped his name on as a producer.
Okay. Just wondering.
And I think most people would say the first Jurassic World is the best of that trilogy. I would disagree. I would say it's Fallen Kingdom because that movie's more like a horror movie, and I dig that. Dominion's the weakest, but I still liked it. I mean, it's fucking dinosaurs. Like I'm gonna like it.
I'll save my opinion. This was fun. This was really fun.
And we went 2 hours.
So, guys, like I said, it's we're in the second inning, if you will. Episode 101. Got a ways to go to get to 200. But thank you for taking the time to just kind of talk with us. And let me know if you don't mind the non-horror talk about certain topics during the show, because sometimes it's nice to just talk about stuff like that, whether it's about horrible crimes. But it's just, what are you going to do about it, Anyway, listen, guys, thank you so much. We love you. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next time.